this is Alex Spears, owner of Through the Decades Sports Cards and Gaming in Louisville, Kentucky. We're here with episode 4, and we're going to answer Richard Hart's questions from a previous video. His first question is, which formats in different games, such as Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, and Magic, have you found to be the most profitable, and conversely, which ones are more labor of love? So this is a fairly easy question. With Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, there's really only one format, and it's basically standard. Now, Pokemon does have Extended, which is basically equivalent to Magic Modern, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Does have some secondary formats like GOAT, which are more, you can just use certain sets or cards to build decks out of, but as the general consensus, it's a pretty much standard format. With Magic, you have, standard, modern, legacy, commander, draft, sealed, etc. So to answer the question of which is more profitable, really it depends on the season and the time. Wizards of the Coast really needs standard to be the most profitable because that's what sells the most booster packs and new products, which is what keeps them making products, which is what keeps them basically making the game for us to play. So if standard ever completely dies or gets too bad, you could have some issues on production and what they make. But clearly they have seen the growth in modern and have begun products like Modern Masters and Modern Event decks, seeing that there's a need and a niche for this and it needed to be addressed. As far as which one's the most profitable, as a whole, based on standard, modern, legacy, etc., the answer's probably modern right now. That does sell the most singles, if you will, whereas the most sealed product, the most deck boxes and intro decks and new players generally come from standard. So it's kind of a tie, to be honest with you. But really the answer is casual. So Commander I would probably put into this just because there's not exactly competitive events, even though we do have competitive tournaments here at TTD. The general rule of thumb is most average consumer is going to spend $10 or $20 and probably not buy an entire deck in one visit. So they will classify them into a casual format until they have completed whatever deck for format they want. So it could be any or all of them, but as a general rule of thumb, we would go with casual. The second question is, what level, if any, of insider information do you get as a store owner about upcoming changes to the different games? I can tell you unequivocally we get zero inside information from Wizards or Konami or Pokemon or whatever. Basically, whenever they send out their first press release of a new set, what it's going to be called or what's going to be in it or spoilers or any of those things, I am seeing it for the first time just like you. The only thing that I may know in advance is something about a cost or an MSRP, but even then it would be so very barely before you know that literally within an hour I would get the email from Wizards and they would have already posted it. That's the only thing I could ever think I might know soon, and even then I'm not convinced that's even true. The third one is, which of your many outreach efforts have you seen the biggest amount of interest and growth from? So if you're talking from a player or gaining community in this question, the answer is it's just as simple as knowing somebody's name and remembering things about them. The best way to get a customer to come back, which will eventually turn into a long-term player and a part of our community, is just remembering who they are, where they came from, and what they enjoy, whether it's their favorite food or if they mention their girlfriend or boyfriend's name, or just knowing where they work and asking them how their day was. If you're asking for outreach that we do outside of just the Magic community, the one I take the most pride in is our Toys for Tots. I am a huge fan of anything we can do to give back to the community for kids. And as a selfish plug for this one, we are currently taking Toys for Tots donations. So if you're watching this video and you're in our area, please swing by and drop off any new sealed toy. If you're not in our area, please Google it. There are so many drop-off points in anywhere in the country. You should be able to make a very simple donation, and a small $10 toy will make a difference that you can't even imagine. The fourth question is the one where we kind of turn to the board. So how much work goes into hosting high-level tournaments like IQs or PPTQs? So I'm going to start with the first part of the question. Honestly, very little. Once you've run 2 or 3, you become so comfortable, and it's the same tournament schedule or event reporters that we use for every Friday or Tuesday night tournament, so that's pretty easy. The number of players can be slightly overwhelming right at the start, especially if it's a noon start and everybody walks in at 11:47 to get registered. But once you get past that first 15 or 20 minutes, it basically runs ourselves. And luckily in this area of the community, we have such great judges that they pretty much just run away with it once we get everybody seated. So that's honestly pretty easy. The next part of that question is, what do you see as the store's biggest needs in being able to host them more often? And is there a payoff for hosting these worth the work? So to answer the question about PPTQs and IQs, I think one PPTQ per store per season is fairly fair. I don't think it'd be bad if maybe they let you do it once a month, but even then there would be so many of them and so many more people qualify for the regional PPTQ that then it would make that cost efficient of you getting to play in the regional PPTQ for free. They might have to start charging you because they'd have to find a bigger location because more people qualify. So really, I think they have that basic premise set up. But if Wizards is watching, we want PTQs back and we want to drop the PPTQ system. Even if every store doesn't get one, it meant more. You had bigger turnouts. We've never even got to run a PTQ and we're still fighting for it to go back to the old way. When it comes to which ones are profitable and what works and what doesn't, this is where I kind of get into the things that work are the best value for the consumer, the player, the tournament entry, your EV, if you will. What we have found to work best for us may not work best for everybody, but we have no problem telling you how we do it. So our theory is if you give it to us to play in a tournament, we should give it back to you in prizes, and it should be of equal value or darn close. So most of our events, Magic-wise, are 100% cash payout. Basically, we do that because if 10 people come in and they each give us $10, that means we have $100 to put in the prize pool, which is more encouraging to players at the top end because they get a bigger prize payout, and it's more encouraging to the bottom players because at least they get something for their entry fee. So we feel like not a winner, everybody's a winner personality because I don't believe in everybody gets a trophy, but I do believe that it's unfair that only one person or top four. So that's why we're trying to play more on the SCG plan or GPs where it goes to the top 64 or top 100 people. Now, obviously, if you don't have 100 people, you can't prize out the top 100, but I think you get the point. So with IQs, as a quick rundown, I'm hitting my clock real quick to check. So with IQs, as a general rule of thumb, an IQ is $30 entry fee. The store gives out $1,000 in cash. Now you look at that math and go, okay, about how many players they need to have, etc. The real key to this is with an IQ, you pay Star City Games $350 to actually host the event and have their name on it. Plus you get points for their free tournament, so I totally understand why they need to make revenue off of it. So then my $1,000 is $1,350 because I've got to pay $350 to Star City Games, $1,000 to the top 8 players, and you still have at least one judge, which is probably going to cost you about $100, give or take, $50 to $100. So if you think about it, you're $1,450 into the event. Divide that by $30, you can see you're probably going to need 35 people, give or take, to break even. Our experience, some modern IQs, we can crack the 32 to 40 players, which means we're slightly profitable and or break even. We've had very hard time standard, and to be fair, standard has been on a huge swing on the uprise lately, so I really believe our next standard IQ will get the numbers that we need. So this one is the most logical one that a store could run on their own, still using other people. PPTQs are the one that I love and hate at the same time. You saw earlier when I ranted about it. It's a $30 entry fee. The prize payout is not quite as good as the IQ, but you do get the invite to the regional PPTQ. They do not charge you an entry fee. You do get prizes. Everybody gets a free promo, and you get the invite to the Pro Tour. So considering the reward of this, it actually makes that prize infinitely better. Now with SCG, and I typoed this, it's SCG Open, or a GP, you have much larger entry fee, $60 or $70. We did the math on a general premise of their payout structure is about $19,000. With a plus or minus 700 people at $60 entry fee, they're bringing in about $42,000. Now it sounds like they're making a lot of money, but in all honesty, by the time you pay venue fees, all of the judges they need, the entire staff, etc., this becomes a great deal. So I'm going to wrap this up real quick and say, if any of your stores do anything like this, this is your best value. Yes, this is a selfish plug for TTD things. So on Saturdays, we do $20 entry fee. It is 100% cash payout, which means if you get 20 players, $400 is going to be paid out to the top 8 players. If you got 30, $600 would be paid out into the top 30, or top 8, excuse me. So as you can see, for a $20 entry fee, 30 people, you're going to be paying out equivalent to a PPTQ minus that $10. Think about if you got 40 or 50 people at $20, you'd be giving away IQ money, or percentage-wise, you get 100% of what was entered into the event, whereas with an SCG event or a GP, maybe 50 to 70% goes to the cash payout from all the entry fees. So if you want your best bang for the buck, you should find local stores, we're definitely not the only ones that do this, that can run these 1Ks with only 50 people at only a $20 entry fee, or $30 entry fee with 30 people puts you darn near a $1,000 event, which is an insane value. So, in conclusion, there are no bad answers, only good ones, as long as you're getting to play the game you love. So, I would like to thank Richard Hart again for all of his questions, and if any of you have follow-up questions to anything we've talked about today, feel free to post them in the comment, and I will make sure that I answer each and every one of them. If you have any new questions that you would like for us to address in future videos, please post those in the comments as well. Maybe you'll be our episode 5. Thank you, guys.